Now, here's an unusual coronavirus pandemic lockdown statistic. More billionaires have been created. Those on the Sunday Times rich list saw their fortunes grow by around a fifth during the crisis. And this acceleration is the greatest we've seen over the last 33 years. Gary Stevenson is an economist and a former city trader. Also, you know a bit about money, Gary. Welcome to the programme. Why are people getting so filthy rich?
Yeah, well, it's a phenomenal statistic, isn't it? As you say, there's been about an increase of a fifth per person, which is a total increase of about £600 billion. Now, this was actually predictable at the beginning of the pandemic. And if you look at my articles online, I actually said this would happen about a year ago. The reason is because in the past, when there were big crises like the wars, the government might try and tax the rich to deal with those problems. But in this crisis, the government has done something totally different, which is simply print enormous amounts of money. The government printed that money, and that money has largely ended up with richer people. Those people have saved that money. That's pushed up stock prices. That's pushed up house prices. Who owns stocks? Who owns assets? Well, it's the rich. And the people who own the most are the super rich. So what that has meant is, whilst millions of people have lost their jobs and their incomes, we've seen an explosion in the wealth of the richest people in the country.
You make it sound so simple, Gary, but I get it. In terms of government money has basically flowed through the proletariat and ended up in the rich.
Yeah, I mean, what it basically is the big economic problem of COVID is that people stopped spending money.
Yes.
But ordinary people and poorer people, most of their spending is on essentials, so they haven't stopped spending money. The people who have stopped spending money are richer people who have higher amounts of luxury spending. The people who have the most luxury spending are obviously the richest. So that has meant that the people who have accumulated money has largely been the richer people in the country. And obviously, as we can see, richer people, when they make money, they get richer.
They make a lot of money.
Stock prices,
and
yeah.
I think another statistic from the survey is that it's actually quite a small club, this, isn't it? The richer, the pre-existing rich actually have got richer. It's not that we're adding huge numbers of people, but that 171 billionaires is quite a stat, isn't it?
It's a lot of billionaires. There's a lot of billionaires. And I think what's really important for people to understand here is we're talking about billionaires. £1 billion is 1,000 million pounds, right? This is not doctors and lawyers, people who worked hard and studied hard to make this money. Often these are people who own huge businesses. Often it's massive business heirs. The thing which I want people to really understand is this is not just abstract numbers. When the rich get richer, it affects ordinary people. They buy assets, they push up house prices. That makes housing less affordable for ordinary people. And I've put up a video if you want to understand how this affects ordinary people on my YouTube called What is Wealth? And you can see that on my YouTube, Gary's Economics.
OK. And is that, do you think, a problem? Is that something that clearly is to the disadvantage of the vast majority of us, whatever financial strata we might be on?
Yeah, look, I've been following this for years and years and years. I used to work in the city. My job was to predict, will the economy be strong? According to me, if we let the rich accumulate huge amounts of money, the rich don't spend money on ordinary things. It doesn't drive wages. They invest money, they buy assets, stocks, shares, houses. So the ultimate result is you simply see house prices go up, and that hurts ordinary families, especially younger people. So if we don't fix this problem of huge amounts of money flowing purely to the richest and not to the rest, we're not going to see an economic recovery.
That sounds like an argument for some kind of super tax. Would you be for that? Does that work?
Well, I think it could work if it's carefully designed. Obviously, whenever we talk about taxing the richest, the big problem is the rich have got the best accountants and they will try and dodge the taxes.
Yeah.
So any tax that we bring in has to be really carefully designed so that it hits the super rich and not just ordinary working people. But personally, I think if we don't do that, we're in for another 10 years of economic disaster. And I'm saying that. I've been betting on this ever since the 2008 crisis, and I've been right for 10 years. I've been making millions of pounds doing it. If we don't find a way to tax the richest, it's going to be a disaster for the rest of us.
Gary, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Gary Stevenson, an economist and a former city trader.